So after the massive success that was the Use Your Illusion albums, Axl Rose decided that for the next Guns N' Roses album, he wanted to top even that. Now, like in between Appetite for Destruction and the Illusion albums, the band decided they needed to release something in between to tide fans over as they planned on the next album being another massive undertaking that would take some time to release. Boy, did they not realize what would all be involved in that, but that's another story for another time. So instead of doing an EP again, they decided to do a covers album. Now, in the past, Guns N' Roses have covered songs like Mama Kin, Live and Let Die, Knocking on Heaven's Door, and they did very, very nice jobs on all of those songs. So, to have a Guns N' Roses cover album seemed like a good enough idea. It seemed like something that they could do well. There are cover albums by other bands that I do really enjoy, although at the time of this album's release, or even when I finally got this album 4 years later, I hadn't really heard a whole lot of them. But cover albums have been done well in the past, but cover albums are also kind of one of those things that they can be a bit hit and miss, depending on the song selection, depending on the band's interpretation of those songs, and just whatever it is they choose to do. But Guns N' Roses covers in the past have been very, very solid, so it would stand to reason that this would have a reasonable chance of being a fairly solid covers album. Well, I mentioned in my Use Your Illusion 2 video that You Could Be Mine was really the last song that Guns N' Roses did that I loved, and really after that, my love for this band kind of went away. This was the last album I ever got by the band, and one that took me quite some time to bother to get around to getting. I had, of course, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and Appetite for Destruction, which I loved, all three of those releases, and then GNR Lies, which I liked. So it kind of took me, God, I say a year and a half to 2 years to even remotely get bored enough of those albums to be like, okay, now I want to hear this. And at the time, I did not know this was a covers album. Now, this album has a very nice sound to it. I really love the guitar tones on it. It has a nice dirty rock sound to it. It kind of a little bit similar to Use Your Illusion, but different at the same time. And definitely sounds a little more modern for 1993, which is the time of this release. And I haven't said the album name up to this point, but this covers album would end up being called The Spaghetti Incident, which incredibly stupid name for an album, but then again, the decisions made from this point on under the Guns N' Roses name, I assume all by Axl Rose, were generally not very good ones. And this album just, unfortunately, was not as good as it really could have been. As I said, covers by Guns N' Roses to this point have been done very well, but I don't know. They had a lot of things going for it. They had a lot of good, like I said, they had the good sound going, but it just did not work. We had another lineup change. Izzy Stradlin was out as rhythm guitarist. Gilby Clarke was in. You won't notice that really on here because it's a covers album. I don't know what their next studio album would have been like, but I think Izzy Stradlin would have really been missed. And overall, this album kind of comes across as a bit of a mess rather than anything else. Axl Rose is only lead vocalist on, I think 6 songs of the 12. There's a hidden track, so you could almost say 7 of 13, but not really a song that serves much of a point either, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to stick with 6 of the 12. And he does kind of, I guess, backing or dual vocals on 3 more songs. But there are quite a few where he's not the lead vocalist on. I think Slash and Duff McKagan take over lead vocal duties for, unfortunately, some of the better songs on here, which I'd rather have had Axl doing the lead vocals for. I mentioned, I believe, in my Use Your Illusion 1 video that, to me, the lead singer is definitely important to maintaining the identity of a band, and to have some of the actually better songs done on here, done with a different vocalist, definitely ruins that Guns N' Roses feel. And I also just don't like some of their way they played some of these songs, but we'll just get into this. So the opening track was Since I Don't Have You, and I remember, again, when I first heard this, not knowing that this was a cover album and listening to this song and just being, I had a huge WTF moment going on there. It sounded like something from the 50s, and for all I know, the song original was recorded in either the 50s or 60s. I don't know, but I guess they definitely captured that feel while putting a little bit of a Guns N' Roses spin on it. It's a ballad. I mentioned on the last video my feelings on opening up an album with a ballad. Civil War was a much better opener than this. It's an okay, I guess, but God, I actually think I prefer So Fine to this now. It's not good. I don't like this song at all. It I used to think it was okay, but I can't get into it anymore. The vocals are horrible. The music just does not do anything to it for me. Yeah, Slash is okay doing some soloing here and there, but it's nothing really that special. And as I've said before, Slash is awesome, so I expect nothing less from him. The album then continues with New Rose, which is the first song done with a different vocalist. I can't remember if this is Slash or Duff McKagan at this point. I think Slash may do the vocals for this one, but I don't know. But it's a cool rocker. It does showcase the cool guitar tones that they're going to have on this album. It would have made a better opening track, but again, without Axl and the vocals, it doesn't feel like Guns N' Roses to me. It's not bad. If you don't mind hearing somebody else do vocals, it's fine. It's a pretty good rendition of the song. I just would have liked to have had Axl on vocals. And then we have Down on the Farm, which does bring back Axl on vocals. And this is the first song that I actually kind of like. It sounds enough like Guns N' Roses. It's another rocking track. It's not the greatest in their discography, but it's a pretty good song. Pretty enjoyable. It's followed by Human Being, which, again, is an Axl-fronted song. It's a bit of a rocker as well, but it's got annoying piano in the background. I don't know if that's Dizzy Reed or Axl Rose playing that, but it just sounds like they're banging on the keys for no apparent reason other than to play piano. The song, it's okay, I guess, but to be honest, I don't really love it all that much. I don't even think Axl's vocals on the song are really that good. He's not really that easily understandable. I know there were some issues with that on Use Your Illusion 1 with a couple of songs, but those songs were done a lot better and had a lot more attitude than this. I don't really care for this rendition of it. Raw Power is another kind of punkish song, kind of like New Rose, that starts off with, I assume it's Duff McKagan. I'm just going to assume if it's not Axl, it's Duff McKagan on this album, but I don't know for sure. And this one's not a bad rendition of the song. Axl comes in later as kind of a background vocalist, and they kind of do dual vocals later on. It's got a nice little pacing to it, but I don't know. Again, it doesn't feel like Guns N' Roses to me, and I can't really get into it that much. But it's a pretty good cover. If you're okay with it not sounding like Guns N' Roses, you could probably enjoy the song. It's not poorly done. Ain't It Fun is another song that's kind of dual vocals with Axl and some other guy. It's kind of got a little bit of attitude. It's a softer song at times, and then it has like its heavier points during the chorus. I don't know. There are aspects to the song I like, but other ones I don't. Again, I don't really need a second primary vocalist on a Guns N' Roses song. It's okay. The chorus needs work, but again, they didn't write this song, so they were just, I assume, doing whatever the original was. I don't know, this song doesn't really do it for me either. We need to move this along. Buick McCain with a little bit of Soundgarden's Big Dumb Sex in there. I don't know what the fuck the point of this song is. Axl does lead vocals. It does sound a little more Guns N' Roses-esque, but there's no point to the song at all. It's kind of a medley, I guess, of two songs, I'm assuming. Just get Soundgarden's Big Dumb Sex. That's an awesome song. That's actually a pretty good album. I can't remember which album that came out on, but I know it had several good songs on there. And Soundgarden, they're a solid band. Pre-breakup, anyways. But this song just served absolutely no purpose. So we're now 7 songs in, and there's only one song that I remotely like. It's just not going well at all. However, we are treated to Hair of the Dog, which is a Nazareth cover. I've actually heard the original of this several times, and this is the only song I actually heard on the radio. Unfortunately, I hadn't heard it by the time I got this album. I would have liked to have. That way I would at least had some sort of idea what to expect. This one is actually a cool song, and if not my favorite, would be my second favorite song on the album. This one actually sounds like Guns N' Roses. Axl on vocals, it's done very well. It's very true to the original song. They seem to have a little bit of fun at the end as they repeat the chorus over and over again and quicker, get the song quicker and quicker and quicker as they speed up the pacing. And I don't know, that part's I guess kind of a little silly, but I guess if you're dragging out an intro, then you might as well have some fun with it. But overall, this is a very nice track and one of the few post "You Could Be Mine" songs by Guns N' Roses that I actually do really, really like. It's followed by Attitude, which is another song done by, I assume, Duff McKagan, maybe slash, I don't know who the fuck does the lead vocals to the song either. It's a nice rendition of the Misfit song. It's pretty good. It's a really short track, but again, doesn't feel like Guns N' Roses to me. Black Leather is either my second or first favorite song on the album. It's the only really competition that Hair of the Dog has. This is a very cool song. I really like the attitude behind it. You can have Axl doing the lead vocals. I think this song is very well done. The riff is very basic, but it's very nicely done. Overall, a very cool song, and this one, Black Leather and Down on the Farm, really kind of make me think and wish for what this album could have been. Like I said, I really like the sound of this album, and it really could have been something really cool, even for a covers album. But unfortunately, this is the last Guns N' Roses song that I can say I like, and it's a cover, which is unfortunate. But then again, this is a covers album. So next we have You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory. This is a ballad. It Would Be Okay. Again, it's done by, I think this is Duff McKagan that does this one. And look, if I want to hear Duff McKagan on lead vocals, I'll listen to Duff McKagan's Loaded. They're not a bad band. They definitely have some good songs, but I don't want to hear him doing lead vocals on Guns N' Roses. And he's not really that great of a lead vocalist. And from what I've heard of his material, he's best when he's doing the faster, harder, kind of punk rock style songs. He doesn't do ballads well, in my opinion. And then there's I Don't Care About You. I will just say either stick to the original or Soundgarden does a cover of this song that's very well done. Forget this stupid song. It's basically a mix of Axl Rose and somebody else just screaming and yelling at you for a minute or two, and there's no melody whatsoever in this track. They go into a hidden track somewhere else. I think it was written by Charles. Yeah, it says here written by Charles Manson. And that would be an acoustic song that I'm not even getting into because it's not even worth my time. So what we're left with is a project that's supposed to tide us over until the next Guns N' Roses album. And unfortunately, as good as this could have been, it's just very much an album of wasted potential. A good sound, some songs that I guess you could say were an okay song selection, but done very much in a way that does not sound like Guns N' Roses. And the actual final Guns N' Roses song that I like, which again is a cover that I forgot to mention, would be the song Sympathy for the Devil, which is a very nice rendition of the Rolling Stones song, and really kind of makes me sad that song isn't on here. It's definitely kind of proggy. It definitely sounds like something that could have gone on the Use Your Illusion albums. I mean, if you've heard the Rolling Stones version, and chances are you've heard the Guns N' Roses one too, it's basically like that, but with the Guns N' Roses attitude, it's definitely a lot heavier. Axl mixes in a few different vocal stylings, and overall, it's a very well done song, and would have made a very nice addition to this album instead of, I don't know, Buick McCain and You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory and I Don't Care About You, which were just dreadful tracks altogether. I also mentioned that in my Lies review that they had some other songs recorded, Heartbreak Hotel, Shadow of Your Love, and Jumping Jack Flash, all of which would have made better choices to put on here than some of the crap that they put on here. this overall was not a good album. I don't really care for it. I used to like it more than I do now, but I used to be more of a Guns N' Roses fanboy than I am now. I really feel like this was wasted potential, and I just don't care for it. I'm going to give this a 30 out of 100. There are three songs I like. That's it. I don't really care for anything else on it. I would be willing to concede 50 out of 100 because there are a few other songs that are actually not bad, just they don't sound like Guns N' Roses. But I'm reviewing this as a Guns N' Roses album, not as a Duff McKagan's Loaded album. So I'm sticking with 30 out of 100. Three songs I like, a couple other tolerable songs, but overall I don't really feel like listening to them. So if you want the best songs, I would say look up Hair of the Dog, Black Leather, and Down on the Farm. You can buy those individually on iTunes or Amazon. They should pay me for advertising for them, but they won't. And like with anything, you can listen to the album for yourself, judge for yourself. If you like it, get it. If you don't, fuck it. It's not really that good. I've really wasted way too much time on this album already. Terrible way for the semi-original lineup to go out, as this would be the last time we would have Slash, Matt, Duff McKagan on a Guns N' Roses album. And it's really a sad way for them to end that chapter of their career.